Illuminati. Hey, ladies and gentlemen, boys and berries. Casey here, Bradley G.
How's it going?
Got to do some of these things in the
Do some voguing.
Well, it's just that when you cut it into the shorts, it ends up grabbing that stuff and does things. Like there's that one that we did where you're pointing into the camera.
Yeah.
That was kind of a cool thumbnail. Yeah. So, anyways, we don't really have a topic today because we didn't really think about it much. And I've been going through a situation where I'm about to give birth to a kidney stone.
Yeah, I know. Wonderful. You're handling it a little better than I did. Of course, my kidney stone moved much faster.
What?
By the time that I felt something and I went into the hospital, like my kidney stone moved much faster. I was pretty much over it within the next 12 to 24 hours.
Oh, wow.
Both times. Well, the first time was within 3 days. The second time was within, I want to say it was within like 24 hours from the time that I was like really like feeling it to the point where I thought I needed to get
I don't know if I've ever been through this situation, but it was last Sunday night, not last Sunday, but the Sunday before that, 10:30 at night, I woke up. Just big pain. I was laying on the living room floor trying to figure out a place to lay, side, front, back, didn't know what to do. It was just constant pain.
Yep, know the feeling.
And
it's awful.
The mind starts going. I started thinking, pancreas stuff, what's going on? Do I got an intestine that's twisted or something? What's happening in my gut? And I went to the urgent care and they did some tests and stuff and said, we think you should go into the emergency and do one of those CRT scans, or what it is?
Like a CT scan?
CT scan? CT? I don't know. I'm not a medical person.
Yeah.
They got names for everything. So I did that, but that was a long time over at the emergency at the University of Minnesota.
Yeah.
It was like there from like 6 to 3 in the morning.
Yeah.
Tired. Yeah. Feeling sore.
Right. And in the end, they can't do anything for you. All they do is go, yep, you have a kidney stone. Well, here's some painkillers.
The guy comes walking up and then he kind of looks at you and then he grabs a chair and sits down. He says, this is going to hurt. That's all he said. So that's what I'm looking forward to. I get to birth a kidney stone someday. But it's been a week.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Maybe it's crumbled. And you said that they give you a little strainer. And you're supposed to strain it to find out, and you keep it and bring it back, and they can check it out to see if it's got some weird shit in it.
Mm-hmm.
And you said that yours broke apart and it was kind of like a little sand kind of stone.
Mine broke apart, but they gave me something specifically to dilate, and they said that it can break things down. So they gave me something specific for that, and then so when I was trying to pass it, basically, yeah. It was very interesting. It was not rock solid by the time that it came out.
So do you remember the stuff they gave you that does that?
I don't remember it all. It's been over a decade.
If you saw the name, do you think you would?
Maybe. I mean, it's been over a decade.
Well, maybe after this, we will look in my little chart thing and find out what it is, because maybe that's a...
The last time I had it, I didn't. Like, I went to the hospital. I sat at the hospital for 6 hours and they did nothing for me. Like, I sat in a room the whole entire time. They basically put me in the room. If I had actually like been at death's door and something was wrong with my heart or something like that, I'd be dead. Like, they didn't even check on me for 4 hours. They put me inside the room whenever I got there and they left me sitting there for 4 hours. So finally, after 6 hours rolls around, my wife goes, yeah, we're just gonna leave. So we left. And yeah, they did nothing for me the entire time. They put in an IV at one point because I was like, yeah, are you guys gonna give me anything? Like, what's going on here? Like, you guys said you were gonna do something for me 4 hours ago.
And what was the IV for? Nothing. Just a little pacifier?
They gave me a little tiny bit. It was like just before I decided to finally leave. That, yeah, they put something in there to help with the nausea.
Okay, maybe that's what they did to me because they gave me a whole bag of this something that dripped in my arm.
Yeah.
But, anyways, that's what we got for you. Now that that has passed,
Don't you wish?
not now.
Not now. Not right now.
Don't need it now.
We'll be stopping the live if that happens.
I'll be okay, I think.
It's all right. I mean, it's not the end of the world. However, I will say that I know people who I know women who said that they would rather have 2 children for every kidney stone.
I've heard that too. So there we go. We get to experience. That's why I say giving birth.
Yeah.
So I read on the bottle because I have a hard time swallowing pills. So when I have to swallow a capsule or something, I'll like eat a piece of bread or a cracker and I'll wrap it up in there and just trick myself and swallow the whole chunk. So normally I'll just chew them,
Mm-hmm.
like an aspirin or something. I'll just chew it.
Yeah.
This thing on the bottle, it was on the back of the bottle because it just says take one a day. Okay, I'll do that. I look on the back and it says do not chew.
Right.
I'm trying to figure out what that is. If you guys know what the difference is between taking it whole or chewing, we talked about it before that it does elongate the process, so it's maybe a drip situation.
They put stuff in it sometimes that makes it time released.
They do ask you to do it on a full stomach so that it's not sitting against your stomach wall and dripping acid into your lining. I get all that. That's why I chew them. I figure just chew it up, get it into your system. But maybe this is supposed to be a slower process.
Yeah, probably.
Well, I just wasted a bunch of capsules then.
Well, it depends on which one it is. If it's the painkiller one, then it's probably...
It's not the painkiller one. It's the other one.
Oh, it's the other one. Ooh.
The painkiller one, it was a big bottle, a whole bunch of them. And then the other one was just 10.
Yeah.
10 capsules. So we'll see. I guess the last 3, I got 3 left. So tomorrow I'll swallow it whole. See what happens.
Maybe it'll do it. Well, hopefully they're not really big kidney stones, because if they're big ones, you know.
Define big. Do you know the millimeters that are big? Do you remember what yours was?
No, because like I said, it came out and it was all like pretty much like sand by that point.
You didn't do a scan or X-ray?
No. Both times I didn't do it. The first time I went in there, I just had all of the same symptoms. So the same symptoms you explained, and they didn't do a scan at all. They just kind of felt the area and they checked everything and they said, "Yeah, this is what's going on with you. Here you go."
Yeah.
And they just gave me something. They never did anything to confirm it, but I do know something came out, so I took it as though they were correct, because I did pee something out.
Well, I hope that happens with me. It breaks down or whatever, because the ones that I've got, I believe I've got, they said 2. One on the right, one on the left.
Mm-hmm.
So at least I'm in balance.
Oh, yeah.
But they said it was between 4 and 6 millimeters.
That sounds big.
It is big.
Yeah.
So that's why I hope that
that's why it's taking a while.
Will crumble it up a little bit.
Yeah.
I wonder if it's taking a while, or
they can do like ultrasound to break them up too.
I hope I don't have to do that, but I guess
that's not that bad. You just need an ultrasound tech go bzzz, and they just send sound waves in there and breaks it up.
Then I just put back up against a speaker, play some rock.
Yeah, wouldn't that be nice?
Play some Rolling Stones.
Yeah, there you go.
Rolling Kidney Stones.
Right. School's out for summer.
Yeah. So I don't know. We'll have more to be revealed. Maybe next week we'll talk about it.
Yeah. We'll see. Yeah, the last one I had was weird because I had all the same symptoms. They said it was a kidney stone. They never did any tests, and I was sitting there forever, like I told you. And finally, there was a certain moment where, like, they gave me something to pee in, right? And there was a certain moment where I felt like I peed something out, and then I looked, and there was something in there, but it was floating. It was not sinking. And it looked almost like a little fragment of wood or something weird. And I was like, that is just strange. So, and I gave it to them to go test. And I was like, so, like, did you guys see what that was? And like, I felt better after that. I still was having some problems, but it was way more minor after that. And whenever they took it, they threw out the whole thing. They never tested it. They just dumped the whole thing. Like, I'm like, you guys are just very incompetent here.
Well,
it was a weird circumstance.
They probably make their money off the little funnel and the little cup they give you.
I don't know. I have no idea. It's just so weird. Yeah, the first time I got good care, it was just weird. It just all broke up on its way out.
Well, I hope that's what happens to me because these things are big. But what was I going to say? I was going to say something. I forgot. Oh, I was going to say that I don't feel bad at all. I do experience pain sometimes, and maybe that's when it's trying to go through, and then maybe it changes its mind.
Yeah, it doesn't sound like it's moving yet, because whenever it's moving, the pain is extremely steady. It does not stop.
Even if you took the pill or took the pain reliever?
It's very steady, unfortunately.
You still feel it even with the pain stuff?
Yeah.
Well, then what's the pain stuff for?
Yeah, I smoked some cannabis too. I was like trying to kill it.
He's whispering.
I was like, I'll go ahead and I'll smoke a little bit of cannabis too, and with it, and see if it, I can help the pain that way. And of course, it makes you pee a lot. You smoke cannabis, so.
No, they didn't prescribe that.
No, they didn't prescribe that for you. They didn't prescribe that for me either. I did it. I was like, 'cause I actually have an extremely high pain threshold, and painkillers, I actually have to take more than usual to actually have them have a normal effect on me, and they wear off quick. So I have a difficult time with painkillers. Now, not all medication is that way, but painkillers specifically are that way. And it just was not working. So it sucked. I was definitely, for those 3 days, the first time they gave me something, I can't remember what it was, but it was not ibuprofen. It was something else for the pain. It was something more serious.
Mine is ibuprofen.
It could have been oxycodone. I don't remember.
Mine is ibuprofen.
Yeah. I think it might have been oxycodone that they gave me.
So I wonder if the first time I experienced pain, maybe it did move somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
And then the second time I had more pain, that was yesterday, I think. We were walking around downtown. And maybe it moved again, or maybe it didn't move. Maybe it's just giving me pain. I don't know.
And whenever it blocks the tube, that's when you start having pain.
Well, I wonder if maybe it blocks the tube and then bops back out.
It could. I mean, it's better if it moves through, but if it's so big, if it's too big, moving through the tube is going to be difficult.
I know. That's what I'm saying, is I might be dealing with this for 6 months.
I've never known anybody who dealt with it for 6 months. So there was a guy I knew growing up. His name was Jordan. He's dead now, but he got kidney. Well, he got kidney stones a lot. He unfortunately died of an overdose. He had an intermittent problem with heroin and was mentally unstable. So
but he had kidney stones a lot.
But he had kidney stones a lot. So in the time that I knew him, he went through like 5 kidney stones. And I knew him for like 8 years. He had like 5 kidney stones.
Well, I've got a fairly high pain tolerance too. So maybe I've had situations where it's just been pain and I just passed and didn't even notice it.
Mm-hmm.
Smaller kidney stones. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't have them. I got them now. 2 of them.
Yeah, not fun.
We'll see.
Yeah, not fun. Well, at least you're pretty physically fit. So
I am physically fit, but this stuff, whenever a medical situation happens, I mean, an urgent one, it changes your perspective or your outlook on life.
That's true.
So that's what I'm going through right now. If you want to try and help me, I don't know how you can.
Don't punch him in the kidneys.
Yeah, don't punch me in the kidneys. You can try.
That won't help him.
It won't help you either. No. No, but just reflecting on stuff, and it's not sure where to go on some things.
Yeah.
I did that Costa Rica retreat, the ayahuasca thing, and that kind of undid stuff. And then we did the little essential oil thing the other day.
Yeah.
That was an interesting situation.
Yeah. How did you like the AFT that we did here at the studio on the 8th?
I liked it because I had I would say, a miraculous experience. I don't know of a lot of
Yeah.
other people that picked up on what happened, but with the spilling of the oil,
I was gathering it. Yeah.
that
Yeah.
was.
It was very interesting. Yeah. The whole spilling of the oil thing was
I will summarize a
very
little bit
interesting.
for those that for you guys, and maybe you didn't hear it, but
I did.
so there was some situations where I was trying to, like, looking back on old situations, like
Hmm.
when I was a little kid, I wanted to join the little league team. I went up there and did it by myself, and dumb me, I went in the wrong line, so I
Hmm.
didn't get to sign up for little league because by the time I realized I was in the wrong line, they were done.
Right.
So I didn't get to sign up for little league. So I missed out on something, and that
Right.
affects a small person, a
It
young
does.
person.
Yeah. And it wasn't the only one. You mentioned another one too.
The other one that comes to mind was a situation where I wanted to join the Boy Scouts
Yeah.
because I did Cub Scouts. I wanted to join Boy Scouts now. And my dad, he worked construction, so he was tired. He didn't want to take me up there. And I had a little tantrum. I want to get the mug. I want to get the mug. We get the little mug. So we went up there to get the mug, and then we just went home. I never joined the Boy Scouts. So I missed out on that.
Right. Because he said, there you go. You got your mug. Now let's go.
And I had a bit of an epiphany because I dealt with some other um, they were alcoholic parents, so they like did some abandonment stuff, and I forgave
Yeah.
them. They're both deceased, so I can't ask for forgiveness directly. So I had to do it via God and went out their seminary plots and dealt with that, and that's behind me. I don't feel that abandonment issue anymore.
Hmm.
But then, so I forgave them about that, and then I realized that you can forgive people, but you have to forgive yourself too.
Yeah.
And that's the thing
Yeah.
that I haven't done is forgive myself for not throwing it for throwing a tantrum rather than and saying that I want the mug. 'Cause I didn't really want the mug. I mean, it's kind of cool you get to have your own mug, but I want to join the Boy Scouts.
Right.
So I used the mug as an excuse, which
Hmm.
wasn't true, to go get what I didn't get.
Right.
So I have to forgive myself for throwing that tantrum to doing something stupid, or
Sure.
forgive myself for not being more assertive and get in the right line and join Little League.
Yeah.
So that's what I was dealing with at this aromatherapy event here
Hmm.
at your Authentic Reflections studio, where we are
Yeah.
now. And so she was going around with this essential oil. I don't remember what it was and all that. But when she came around to you, they ran out.
Yeah. They had emotional release. They had she had another one. I can't remember what she called it. And then the other one was peace or something like that. But they were all supposed to basically be able to move through the emotions.
Right. And then
Yeah.
what happened was she went around to all the different people. There was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, I think. Then you.
Yep.
And
And
when
then
she
you were going
came
to be
around
the
to
last
you,
one.
yeah, there was me and John over here on this
Yeah.
side. And she came around to you and she goes, "Oh, we're all out." And in my head, I go, "Typical."
Right.
Like
Even though she had more.
I'm missing out now. All of a sudden, it comes to my turn and I miss out again. I'm not
Yeah.
getting what I wanted. So I had my little tantrum in my head.
Yep.
And
Yeah.
then
The
when she
next
went to
time around
get
was funny.
when she went to get more, and she comes over to me, and the little cap that was on there was loose. So she dumped almost the whole bottle in my palm.
Well, it was hilarious because she walked over to him and she goes, "Now I know that you're going to be worried about this." So she did. She went around the other direction. So he was like the second or the third person to get it this time. And she goes, "I have plenty for you." And then the little cap falls off and it just goes, it just falls all over his hands, all over his leg, on the couch. It was funny. And then, so, yeah, he kind of got that idea too.
So that message to me
Yeah.
was that it's an abundant world. Quit feeling so sorry for yourself.
Right.
So that's what I've been working on now is self-forgiveness stuff. So doing meditations and mantras and
Hmm.
affirmations and askformations and all that kind of
Yeah.
stuff. So to me, it was a very good event because of that. That was worth my admission.
Yeah. I thought it was pretty good too. I did not have the same um kind of profound moment, like because there was a lot of people in there who had a profound moment. We had 10 people total. Um, Out of the 10 people, all of them said that they experienced something that was pretty profound. And it was kind of interesting because whenever you're taking the oils and you think about what it is that you're saying a little mantra throughout the whole time, and then you're like, do you believe in that? Do you really believe yourself whenever you're hearing yourself say that? And then it should be no, because it should be a challenge to begin with, right? It's something that you don't it's something that you want, but you don't necessarily know how you're going to get it, or maybe necessarily think you can, or think you deserve, or something like that. And then you get the oil and you rub it between your hands and you make a little tent, and you breathe it and you take deep breaths. And the interesting thing was, it does make it really easy to sink into the emotion. You start with negative emotions because you're finding the negative emotion associated with that statement in order to figure out where it comes from. So they tell you, go to a time that you've experienced this in your past and really think about that and picture it, image it, feel it. That was easy for me to do because I'm a pretty happy-go-lucky person. I'm sitting there and I'm going through this, like, this aspect of this negative emotion and sitting with it. And with the aromatherapy, it really made me sink into that emotion. So then I started feeling like, oh, like all kind of like sad and like a little like downtrodden. I'm like, wow, okay, that's pretty impressive. Like it actually, the emotion is kind of taking me on a ride right now. and
Uh-huh.
and I started getting images that were not necessarily having to do with the emotional place that I thought of in my head. It took me to other points where I had felt similar emotions. And then of course it brought me back to some childhood stuff and things like that. And there was one point at the very end where the last round that we were doing the breathing, where it was like inhaling the aroma, it was like the image in my head got hijacked and something completely different happened in it. And it kind of allowed me to be able to move out of that emotion and move somewhere else with it, which was kind of cool. Like, I mean, these are all emotions and stuff that I've been dealing, with all my life, and I actually have done a lot of work to overcome them and to actually to grow in that department. So I didn't really feel like I had much to deal with left in that area. But the one thing that I don't do is just go, oh yeah, I'm gonna just sit in that emotion. That was the thing that I thought was really cool about this. For somebody who's in my head most of the time, as I think they were finding out you were as well, very much in your head.
Mhm.
I'm in my head most of the time. And it allowed me to be able to just kind of just and go right down into that emotion and then stay there and really think about it and feel it and just truly experience it without all of the other emotional baggage that comes with it. And I think that's really important because, the emotional baggage that usually comes with feeling those emotions is like anger, hostility, or maybe depression or something, right? There's some kind of baggage that comes with a lot of that emotion on the other end of it. Like you start feeling it, and then there's just something because you have to experience life while you're doing it. Well, this was only the course of, hour and a half, 2 hour time frame. So as we're experiencing this and we're going through all of this stuff, even though that I'm sitting in this emotion and I'm talking to other people about this and I'm going through it, the fact remained that it allowed me to be able to experience that. And then by the time that I left, the emotion was experienced, thought of, analyzed, and potentially already taken care of. And I think almost everybody felt like they had moved through that emotion. Maybe not completely gone, but they had moved through it enough to where they feel like they could work with that energy.
They at least experienced it, felt a little bit. That's the interesting thing about olfactory stuff for the sense of smell. It goes directly to the brain. It doesn't go into the bloodstream to get to the brain.
Right.
It goes there.
Yeah, and it doesn't go through your nervous center. It doesn't have to be interpreted because the olfactory senses are directly interpreted by a part of the brain that actually is not connected with your ego center.
Right.
Whereas most of the time, the signal goes to your brain. The brain knows the signal that it got, but then it actually has to go to a different part of your brain for the interpretation.
So we just cut out the middleman.
Yeah, olfactory senses cut out the middleman.
So I wonder what she does to get to select the essential oil, because different oils, from what I understand, do different things. I remember I had a situation once. I was getting a massage, and my heart chakra was supposedly closed, that the massage therapist said. And she gave, I don't remember if it was frankincense or myrrh, but she put a little drop on my tongue,
Mm-hmm.
and I felt immediate joy. It was just psh, it was like a rush.
I've had that before. Yeah.
So I wonder, I don't know which, again, if it's frankincense or myrrh, it was one of those two, because it's biblical and all that stuff. But I wonder what she does with her program to pick what oil, and because is one oil relevant to my situation with self-love and self-forgiveness versus somebody else that might be trying to write a song or something.
I think it's part of the AFT process because there was 3 different oils that she used. One was about unlocking memories. The other one was about dealing with emotions, and then the other blend was about finding peace.
Okay, so a three-phase process kind of thing.
So yeah, it was like a 3-phase process. So I don't think that she customized it anymore. She did tell me though that whenever she's doing a one-on-one session, she customizes it.
I guess you'd have to, because in a group session, you want to generalize it.
Right.
Is this interesting?
I think it's part of the power though of AFT in that particular scenario was dealing with it in a group. It's almost like, whenever you're dealing with group grief stuff, right? So whenever you're dealing with that, if you go to a grief group and you're talking with a lot of other people there, people who have experienced similar things, usually that can help you.
Definitely, if it's similar things. Not you.
Oh, excuse me.
Take two.
Yeah, my allergies have been just out of control the last
Well, let that go.
4 days. It has not been fun. My eyes have been watering and I've been sneezing a lot. Yeah.
Don't do that.
Mm-mm.
Yeah, I suppose with different people and different issues and stuff, it would be hard to localize it and focus on any specific thing. And in a group situation, I think it really depends, because if there's something way on one side of the spectrum and way on the other side of the spectrum, I don't know if they're going to find something similar. But maybe.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess if you look deep enough, you can find something that you can relate to.
Yeah, it's really hard to tell.
It's deep stuff.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, I'm not familiar enough with the AFT. What I was thinking, because what my wife thought, she thought that the AFT would be great for dealing with integration. And what I ended up thinking is that it would actually be better before a session, because then you start to bring up these things. So it gives you something to target.
That does make more sense. Because like what happened with me in Costa Rica, I went down there with an intention of removing specific blocks.
Mm-hmm.
And then I found out when I was there, their program and my program didn't jive. So I couldn't pick my specific blocks. I didn't know what the hell they were. So I decided I'm just going with the program. I want to get rid of all of them.
Yeah.
So that might be helpful to do it before you did something, because then it'll find turn the volume up on the real situation.
Yeah.
Yeah. the oil would pull out that emotion.
Seems like it might make it harder in some ways, but that's okay.
I don't know. I think it might.
Depends on the emotion.
I think the thing. I think the thing that's important would come to the surface. I don't know. Like some of this stuff gets really, really complicated. Like we were talking before about the tarot and astrology.
Yep.
Some of that stuff can get so complex if
It
you
does.
don't really understand it. Even like playing music, I don't get it. I don't understand all that stuff. The different chords and strings and strums and which one do you pick and how hard do you pick it?
I'm surprised for such a multi-talented guy. I am surprised that you don't do more with music.
Probably.
Especially considering how much you do with your hands.
Well,
with
I'm a
all the sleight of
left-hander, too.
hand.
I'm a left-hander, so the guitar is a situation, but maybe I should have looked at a keyboard or something.
Yeah. I think you just have to string it the other direction, don't you?
I didn't want to string it the other direction because what if you go over to someone's house and, hey, do you play guitar? And now it's not strung right, and I got to restring their guitar. I don't want to do that.
Oh, I meant for like yourself.
I would do it for myself, but then I wouldn't know how to play a regular guitar.
I suppose.
Who was it? Billy McLaughlin. He's a left-hander, I think, and he ended up having some problems with his wrist, so he learned how to play the other way.
Oh, interesting. Yeah. You gonna take some guitar lessons?
I did, and that's what frustrated me. The guy gave me some stuff to do, and I don't get it. I don't understand it.
Mm.
So sometimes I feel like I'm an alien, and I don't know it.
I think we all feel like we're aliens sometimes.
Because I definitely have some challenges with comprehension of things, and trying to communicate what I'm trying to communicate. And like we were at the Unite the Night situation that was in
Sure.
our area.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm really quiet in groups. I can talk in one-on-one and one-on-two, but when it gets into a group, unless I'm called upon, I'm like quiet.
I get that.
So
I get
was
that way
at
too.
this event, and I'm just Mr. Quiet. And the guy said, hey, you're a quiet kind. And yeah, I am. Didn't go any further. And then I tried to interject some stuff. And I swear, these people were talking, and then there was a pause, and I interjected something, and they continued talking like I didn't say a fucking thing.
I totally experience that on a regular basis.
I wonder if they even heard anything.
Yeah. That's funny. I have had that happen to me so many times. It's not even funny. Like that is pretty much par for the course.
Maybe we should do an alien retreat.
There you go. There you go. So I don't remember what your human design is. Are you a projector as well? So I'm a projector. And that's one of the problems projectors have.
Yeah, and there's is it a creator also?
No, it's a projector. Manifester, generator, and a manifesting generator, I think, are the four different types.
I'm a manifesting generator.
Okay.
I think.
Yeah, Elizabeth is a manifester. I'm a projector. I remember those. So you think you're a manifesting generator?
I think so, but those are also those things that sometimes I am, sometimes I'm not. It's hard to, you got these systems that people put together, and okay, that's what you are. And I've taken the Myers-Briggs and the disc profile and the strength finders and
what'd you come up with on Myers-Briggs?
I can't remember. It was a long time ago. But my point was, they've never really nothing's ever been solid. The only thing that's been solid is my wife Monica did a numerology chart for me, and I read that, and everything seemed to line up except for one thing. Guess what it was? Music. That was the one thing that didn't. Oh, I'm supposed to be musical. I don't know how. I don't know what's music for me. What am I supposed to do with music? I still haven't figured it out.
It plays in the background while you're doing sleight of hand.
That might be it. It might be just start doing stuff to music or something.
Yeah.
I don't know. But most of those things, I don't grasp them. I don't. Like, my wife had me do another one. I can't remember what the hell it was called. And I said, I don't like doing those things. And she goes, oh, it'd be good for us because then I understand more what you're about and blah, blah, blah. And it was a fee-based thing. So was 25, $30 or something like that. I took it, and then she read it, and then I start getting their emails. I don't get into it.
Yeah, I have done a lot of those things before. When I was a teenager, the guy that taught me astrology and a whole bunch of other different really awesome things, and we talk about philosophy all the time and all that kind of stuff. He took classes with Kersey, he's the guy who basically made Myers-Briggs what Myers-Briggs is. It's just Myers-Briggs is the pop sci version of the Kersey-Bates theory. So that's really what it is. That's the best way to put it. So Kersey-Bates has a slightly different way that they do it, but Kersey is the one that came up with the Kersey temperament sorter, which is the test that most people take that Myers-Briggs utilizes in order to be like, oh yeah, let's check your Myers-Briggs. But it's actually not a Myers-Briggs test. It's actually a Kersey-Bates test. And it has very interesting results. I have found that whenever I talk to people about it and I combine it with like astrology, that it usually works out really well.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
And then what happens?
Well, I mean, people are extremely complicated human beings. So,
Exactly.
I mean, we all are. So something that is simplistic as a temperament sorter that has 16 different subtypes with 4 archetypes, that's going to be a little difficult to figure out. What it does tell me, though, is it tells me how you process information, which is literally all it's supposed to do.
I do know that I don't process it enough. I look at the basics of it and just get it. That's what happened with my dosage, where I'm supposed to swallow the whole capsule rather than chew it.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't read it on the back where it said that.
So do you remember if you were like an NF or an NT or an SP or an SJ?
I don't even know what those things are.
Oh, okay. All right.
No, I don't remember.
So you don't remember whether it was like an idealist or a guardian or an...
Is that the Myers-Briggs thing?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was in the 70s.
Oh, okay.
A long time ago.
Well, all right. You're probably not going to remember something from the 70s, so.
But they're interesting things, but then what do you do with it? I mean, if I took the test and you read my results, and you see exactly how I am.
Well, I mean, it's not exactly how somebody is. It is a theory that works for a large portion of the population. However, even testing, he says that there's a pretty large margin of error. So Kersey himself was like, after he created it, he kept on tweaking it all the time because he's like, there's this margin of error. People take the test and they analyze themselves how they believe other people see them or other people should see them, not based off of objective observation.
Yeah, Monica just got done going through one where it's how other people see you.
Yeah. Yeah, and Kersey, in his books, whenever he talks about it, he said that if you really want to understand the way this works, you have to look at objective, observable results. So you have to take somebody and you have to watch them, and it has to be objective and it has to be observable behavior. So if you watch the objective, observable behavior, then you should be able to analyze and go, oh, okay, so a person is this. So you learn what to watch for. So it did help me quite a lot, actually, in applying it to people, because I learned a lot that helped me in sales later on in life. And it helps me in like technical support, because I learned how people work. And I learned how they take in information and how they process that information. And if I am able to see how they deal with information, then I can give them information in a way that will have the desired result. Make sense?
Yeah, kind of.
Kind of? Yeah. So, for example, so an NT, it's simple. Like, I can just give an NT instructions and they can deal with it, because an NT, they're the analytical type. So they analyze the information and then they apply it. But an NT isn't really, they're probably not the sort who's actually going to be calling technical support unless they're on a deadline and it's something that, like, you know, is advanced. And if they're calling you, they probably have already checked all of the basics. So it's kind of nice if I'm talking to somebody and I'm figuring that that's probably what they are, I go over the basics really quick just to make sure they did everything, because even the brightest person can miss a stupid simple step like, hey, did you make sure the power cord was plugged into the wall? Like, you'd be surprised how many people go, yeah, of course it's plugged. Oh, all right, never mind. I'll call you guys back if I need any further help.
Sure.
It happens a lot. And that was, it was extremely helpful. But if I get somebody who's like an SJ, for example, SJs are actually, they're built on structure. I have to go through the entire list with them. They will not function unless I go through the whole list with them. They will be constantly like, well, aren't you supposed to check this? It's like, do you think that's the problem? Did you already check that as the problem? Well, yes. Well, aren't we supposed to go through it together? Well, if you already checked it, why would I waste my time?
Well, that might be part of my
but you have to with an SJ.
That might be my issue with comprehending stuff of how other people understand me and how I understand other people, because there's so many different variables. They're just talking different languages.
Right. There is.
I do understand, like my friend Ron Eccles used to do trade show sales training and used to office with me, and he did VAC, which is visual, auditory, kinesthetic.
Yeah.
And so when he was talking to a person in the booth, he would figure out if they're a visual, auditory, or kinesthetic person.
Yeah.
Just by listening to what they say. If they say, well, let me think about it, or, oh, I can see that, or I'm not sure how I feel about that, then you can kind of tell what kind of person they are.
Right.
Then you start parroting them or mirroring them and use that same language, and supposedly now you've established rapport better.
Right. Yeah, it's an interesting thing. I was watching a clip actually the other day. I should say my wife was watching the clip, and it was interesting, so I watched part of it with her. But this guy was analyzing whether somebody was, you know, where they were at on VAC, and he was basically saying that you know, you can find out somebody's love language. Basically, you know, you've read the book on that, right?
No,
with the love languages, but you've heard about it. Okay. So basically he was saying that you can actually see it. So you meet somebody and they got big eyes. Well, it's probably they're visually oriented if they have really big eyes. And if you are meeting somebody and they have this line here, so they have these lines here, it's called a libido line. And if they have that there, then they're physically oriented, right? And if they have it here, then it's a different one. And so he went down the whole entire list of like what they look like what their facial characteristics are like.
Mm-hmm.
And he was like, yeah, if you have like a strong libido line and you go up to somebody and you're greeting them and you're like, hi, how are you doing today? Then you shake their hand, but then you support it with the other hand to make as much contact as possible, because that actually means something to that person. Whereas other people might be, what are you doing touching me like that? You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So yeah, it was kind of interesting how they utilize that in the sales process.
It is interesting, but I think sometimes it gets to be too much. You kind of wonder if cultures from 100 years ago did the same thing. When you meet someone and, hey, how's it going? You got to look for their libido line before you talk to them.
Right, right.
It's to be too much, it seems like.
It can be a bit much. Like, you know, I like it just simply because of the life I've lived, and you know me. I'm very analytical.
It's an interesting thing.
I like it just to learn.
I went to an event once, and there was 2 NLP people there, and they're sitting at the picnic table talking to each other in like NLP language, like they're reading each other. Mm-hmm. It was weird. They're having fun.
That's the way I was like that about astrology. I did that about, well, just anything. It didn't matter what it was, whatever the flavor of the month was for me about whatever I was learning at that time. And sometimes it wouldn't even last that long if I thought it was boring.
Analyzing human
I
behavior.
just loved it. That was my favorite part about hanging out at coffee shops. I used to go to coffee shops that were literally hangout joints.
Mm-hmm.
This is before, you could play games on a cell phone and sit in the corner. And, and I would sit there and I would people watch. I'd people watch for hours. And we would make guesses about the way that people walked and what that meant about them. And we would analyze people who were on dates. That was my favorite. I would analyze people on dates. And I'd figure out how it was going based on the body language of it. And then at the point where it was over, I would ask questions. I would just be like, excuse me, hey, so did you think your date went well?
Who the hell are you?
Who are you? Well, I'm just, I'm studying people. And I literally would have notes sitting in front of me about different things. And I'd be like, well, I study people and I'm just really trying to get an honest assessment as to if I'm reading the right body language. And so I just wanted to know, did you think your date went well? And sometimes they'd be like,
Creeper.
yeah. Sometimes they would look at me like, I was creeper. Sometimes they would be like, oh yeah, okay. They'd answer the question.
What time we got? We got another 10 minutes. Let's talk about the Enneagram.
Enneagram. Yeah.
You know anything about it?
A little bit.
Oh, he only knows a little bit, and I don't know much at all. So maybe we shouldn't talk about that. What do you think? Maybe we should talk about the Enneagram next week?
Yeah, we could.
See,
I could brush up on it. It's been a long time since I've really done it.
I know that some people, when they study this stuff and they're really, really into it, they're really, really into it. And then they're really insistent that you need to learn and get this thing done and all that.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like doing that stuff.
You don't like doing that kind of stuff?
Maybe it's a paranoia or something. It's like, okay, you're reading me.
I don't know. It's very interesting because, most people, when you're asking them about it, most people have a response of, oh, I don't believe in any of that, because they don't want to think that there's something out there that would be able to type and analyze them that easily, because they're like, I'm a unique person. As though we're all unique. And we are all unique. But the thing is that we all fall into patterns. And that's all we're doing is analyzing the patterns.
Well, there's also stuff, life situations. Like a friend of mine that kind of grew up in the hood, so to speak.
Yep.
He could tell if an off-duty cop was a cop.
Yeah.
Just by the way they walked.
Just by the way they walk and the way they hold themselves. Yeah.
They carry their gun. They have they're moving their arm a little different to get around the gun.
Yeah.
So when they walk normally, they still move that arm around.
Yeah.
They might have a different move to them. Or when you look at someone's hands, there might be some calluses. So maybe they work with their hands. Or
yeah.
They're not. So you can kind of understand what people are about just by understanding how they do. You see some people that are kind of rough and been out in the sun, so they maybe work like they're a busker at fairs and carnies and stuff like that.
It's just like you can tell a cowboy by the fact that they walk bow-legged if they're on a horse lot.
Yeah, that kind of stuff. And just how people carry themselves. Now, is that intuitive, like a psychic? No, that's intuitive because you're observant.
It's intuitive because you're observant. Yep.
Yeah. You can kind of tell if someone's going to swing on you. You can kind of tell if someone's following you.
You can.
If they're glancing. And
sometimes you get a weird feeling about things, though, and you don't have a real reason why you are being weary, but
that would be an energetic maybe instead of a physical.
Happened today with my kids. They went to go hang out at the park, and the four of them all, the four youngest, other than Alexander, of course, but they went to the park to go hang out, and there was this guy who just gave them creepy vibes that just was like, hey, are you guys enjoying your time off? As he rides by on his bike. And it sounds like a normal, friendly thing to do, but just, I don't know, something about it just struck them as off, and they all got like really creeped out. And so they immediately left the park and came back, and they were like, they were like, yeah, there was a creepy guy there, and they got all weird about it.
Sure, he's riding his bike to go get his van.
Right. So I was like, good for you girls for paying attention to that sort of thing and for listening to your little voice. It doesn't matter to me whether they were right or not. Of course, it was bothersome whenever they kept on calling everybody on their entire list and going, we just had a creepy guy. I'm like, oh my God, you don't need to call your entire list. It was a feeling. It's not like, I mean, if it was really that big of a deal, you should be calling the cops. And it wasn't that kind of a big deal.
Yes. Kids,
Kind of
though.
funny. But that goes with the analysis of people and the analysis of things. And, the analysis of a podcast or a video that you pull up on the internet with two guys who are sitting there talking
About stuff.
randomly.
Yes. Should we talk about AI?
I do know something we should talk about because I did briefly mention the grief stuff. I have another healing grief ritual that is coming up. It is going to be coming up at the end of October is whenever we're doing it. However, we need to sell the tickets before then because I learned from the last one that I did that I had to close off because I just didn't have enough people going, that there is a point of no return. And I kind of learned that point of no return in this particular case is sooner than later. So, yeah, if we don't have the tickets sold by this time next month, we ain't doing it. So, so I'm trying to get people to go check it out, the Healing Grief Ritual. It's not just about if you had somebody die yourself. It's about going through grief as a community, going through it could be going through just the grief of human nature that we've all had to go through in the past several years of, COVID and then all of this crap that's been going on with war and global conflict and everything.
There's a lot of stuff that the whole masking situation did where humans couldn't interact and how it's not legal to go to your church and be with your friends and congregation.
Right.
And you'll miss all that stuff. So you might be grieving about something like that and not even know it.
There's a lot of us who are grieving over a ton of things that are going on in the world. And, and for some reason in Western society, a lot of us feel like somehow we don't have the right to actually be grieving about things that didn't directly happen to us. But the truth of the matter is that we all grieve as a community. We grieve together because of things that happen around us, because the majority of us are fairly empathic. We actually care about what happens to people around us. We have compassion. And if we watch something on TV, and this is proven, it's actually a proven thing. If you watch something on TV and you're watching somebody say, do downhill skiing, right? And you're watching it from a first person perspective, there's no difference in your brain that tells it that you're not doing it yourself. So it's easy for us to be traumatized in modern society because we play games that are traumatizing. We watch TV that is traumatizing. We experience trauma from the world at large. And all of this leaves a need for us to release this grief. So, if you have grief that you want to release and you want to give to the ancestors and you want to be able to go about your life and you have a desperate need, whether it's, maybe your cousin or your neighbor got raped, or maybe it's that you experienced something bad or negative yourself. Maybe somebody who died. Like I went to a funeral this weekend of a little 5-year-old girl that needed buried. And, that's those types of things are traumatic, and they're not just traumatic for the family that directly experienced it. It's dramatic for the whole community. I mean, just thinking about it actually is bringing tears to my eyes about this particular situation. I mean, who wants to bury a 5-year-old little girl? But it's sad. And she had a undiagnosed muscular disorder. It was a genetic type thing where essentially like her brain did not fully connect to the body ever. So she wasn't really able to do anything other than just exist. And then it's interesting, it brings up a whole subset of this topic, but
Mhm.
people that would meet this little girl, even though this little girl was not able to communicate in any way that we would notice as communication because her muscles just didn't work.
Mhm.
She wasn't able to move her mouth. She wasn't able to blink. She wasn't able to do any of that kind of stuff. People felt everything coming off of this girl.
Mhm.
So they just felt this like joy at meeting new people. Like they knew that she liked to meet new people. They knew that she was really caring, sweet person who just like wanted to hear people's stories and wanted to hear about it. They just felt this coming off of this girl, and it's very interesting. And talk about a spiritual experience, walking into a room with somebody who can't express anything in any way, and you just feel the emotion and the spiritual energy coming off of this being, and you can interpret it. It's
I
very
wonder if that
interesting.
might end up being a different way of communication, and maybe humans are experiencing a different way to talk to each other,
Hmm.
not with words, because they don't make much difference anymore. It's more the feeling, maybe.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they've done a bunch of studies on human communication, where they say like if you communicate in person, it like covers this much. It covers all of your communication. But they don't talk about the things that are purely energetic. But now, if you talk about like written communication, well, that's missing a lot. You talk about, just over the phone, that's missing a lot of communication because there's a lot of communication that happens with your body language
Mhm.
that you don't capture unless you're watching somebody. And then, of course, there's a lot of body language that you don't capture by even watching a video. You're only seeing me from here to here, right? I mean, yeah, you're seeing me move my hands and everything else, but you don't see the fact that I have my legs crossed right now, or I'm shaking my feet, or, Brad's tapping his toe right now. I mean, all of these things go read things. Anyways, I got sidetracked there. I was talking about the grief ritual. Go to my website, MycoShift, MycoShift.com,
I wonder if I
MycoShift.
got that on here. I hope I do.
Yeah, that's right. Everything changed, huh? Yeah, pretty sure it's on there, but if it's not, he's going to add it. And yeah, so you could also you might be able to find it at yourauthenticreflections.com on the events page, but if not, it will have to be at MycoShift.
Let me put it on MicroShift. You keep talking. I'm going to put it on there.
Sweet. So if you go to microshift.com and you check the events page, on the events page, they do talk about the healing grief ritual. And if you click on that, there's information on there. We actually are flying in a shaman who is officially a part of the Dagara tribe and trained under Malidoma Somé. If you don't know who that is, look it up. And he trained under Malidoma Somé and Malidoma's first wife, Sobofu, who both are the ones who kind of brought it out of Africa to other areas of the world. It's an amazing, powerful ritual, and this guy who I'm talking about, the shaman who's going to be coming out to do it, he says it is one of the single most powerful, transformative rituals he's ever experienced. And this guy has experienced some very powerful magical rituals that are performed by small tribes from around the world. He's traveled quite a lot. He thinks this is one of the most powerful of them. So if sounds like something that's going to resonate with you, something that possibly you or maybe some loved ones that you know could utilize, make sure you take part, because this is a truly unique experience that I believe that a lot of people should experience. And it's for me, this is my chance to actually learn how to perform it. I'm actually going to be following these grief rituals for the next few years, learning how to perform them so that way I can work with other people. So there you go.
Good enough. There's the website and amongst other stuff on there, and we can sign this one off.
Yeah.
We did it again.
Yeah.
Okay, peace, love, and happiness. Enjoy the rest of your day. Be good, be kind, be nice.